is it a dream? Am I in heaven? Am I in heaven? The vibe is tight and I'm lost with you. It's all love, baby, through and through. This beat is sick and it's my scene. Am I in heaven or is it a dream? Yeah. Am I in heaven?
What up?
What up, what up, what up? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Almost Patriots. Shout out to Mitch Dodge for that sick track. Good collab with Color Love. Really good track available on Beatport. If you guys like that track, check it out. Shout out Mitch Dodge. Shout out to my boy Elvis in Indianapolis. Hopefully not under too much snow. And my buddy Mike, who's supposed to be in New York, but apparently he's in Florida.
Yes, I'm in Florida. Had to get out of the cold and the snow, so yeah, that's what it is.
You know, we
Started
call those
snowing here today.
snowbirds, right? Call them snowbirds.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did it start snowing in Indianapolis?
Yep. Dropped into the 20s and snowed. Supposed to snow this weekend. Thank God I won't be here.
That's not good. That's not good at all. Yeah, thank God you'll be in San Diego. Both you guys getting out of the winter, huh?
Yeah, New York is freezing right now. When I was flying out last night, there was supposed to be snow as well, so I missed it in time, and thank God I'm in 85-degree weather now, so I have no complaints whatsoever.
Nice. Where are you at in Florida, buddy?
I'm in Boca Raton. So, yeah, hit the beach today. We're in New York. Everybody was pretty much basically wearing jackets. I was in sandals and just chilling in the ocean.
Nice.
Nice. I like it. I like it, man. Well, welcome to episode 19, Gulf of America, and Ricky Bobby, or otherwise known as the Daytona 500. Our episode today centers around those two things. Not really, but it's kind of just like
it's whatever.
on the
Visual.
calendar.
Visual.
Also coming up is President's Day. If you're wondering why Elvis looks like a fucking Q-tip, that's a good reason
man.
to do
Can't
that.
wait to
I'm
get
not sure.
stuck in an ear.
I'm not sure where you got that wig, but I mean, maybe like try a different website next time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like an Amazon wig that you got from
Shout
China.
out to Amazon. Shout out to Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Amazon. Perfect. And so,
I
which
scalped an old person.
which president are you representing this fine pre-President's Day?
We'll go with Washington.
all of them.
We'll
Okay.
go with Washington. Yeah, I like Washington. Lead by the front. Lead by example. Yeah.
Okay.
Lead by don't fall in the river, I think is the lesson there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I definitely have nicer teeth. He
Low blow.
he had some
wooden
teeth,
teeth,
problems.
right? Some wooden teeth and shit.
Apparently, he had like animal teeth. Like his dentures were made out of animal teeth.
Like,
Yeah.
What's the problem with that?
Which animal?
I don't know. Deer? I'm gonna probably.
Yeah, he's a historian,
Deer?
Ricardo. Yeah, he's a historian. He knows
brought it
exactly.
up.
He has his teeth actually. He bought it at an auction. Like he fucking knows.
I'm just wondering. Which
I mean,
animal had the
it
teeth.
said animal teeth. It didn't say which animal teeth. I was reading about the presidents recently, so
Yeah, great white shark.
Definitely
that would
not-
probably
yeah.
be a bad idea. Yeah, shark
Yeah.
teeth would not work.
Dope. A vampire
Yeah.
teeth, you know.
What the fuck was that? What going on? What the hell was that noise?
He watched Nosferatu, so he's got a little PTSD.
Which is a great movie, by the way. Really well shot. I recommend that if you guys haven't seen Nosferatu, it is excellent. I don't know if you can stream it yet, but I think I had to rent it. But it was really well done visually, and the story's really good too. I recommend it. That's
It's-
two Nosferatus up.
Terrifying.
Oh, it's horrible. If you're not used to gory stuff,
I'm not watching it.
Will mess you up. I mean, there's
I have
some
no-
violent scenes intertwined with sexuality that I think children under the age of like 27,
25.
should probably not- yeah. But yeah, it's pretty good.
No
I
desire,
recommend
no
it
desire.
definitely.
I'm not
Mike,
going
have you seen
anywhere near
anything good lately besides the inside of a tennis court?
Unbelievable. I'm never gonna. I'm just waiting for Ricardo to put me in timeout in another episode. Shout out
man.
Scorpion Percussions. Shout out Scorpion
You're
Percussions.
fine. You're fine.
No, I'm trying to think actually. I haven't really watched a lot of TV lately. I did actually. That's not true. I did watch a documentary on. I think it was Prime, called Chiefaholics, which is basically about a guy that robbed the banks and then basically bet every dollar he had on the Chiefs or like Patrick Mahomes winning like the MVP. He was throwing asinine amounts of money. It's a great documentary. It just shows how people are in general and how weird a lot of people are. So I would definitely recommend it to a lot of people.
Yeah,
so-
I feel like I should watch it now that they've lost the Super Bowl. It's okay to watch Chief stuff now.
He's probably on edge, that guy, and in jail.
Yeah,
Probably with someone else's money. I saw a meme today about a guy who paid a wizard $500 to make him invisible and then tried to rob a bank.
nice.
That's impressive, actually.
That's
That
impressive.
is
I was like,
awesome.
Did they see him when he walked into the bank? Was he actually invisible?
I don't think so. I have absolutely no idea. Apparently, and not to the police. Not to the police.
Yeah, he didn't get caught until the dye went off in his face.
Yeah, exactly. And then he was exposed.
Yeah.
No,
Suddenly-
don't try this at home, folks. Definitely don't be paying wizards for shit, except for
No.
like, robes or stuff. But otherwise, no. But
Yeah.
I think it's official. I saw this today too. This other post on the Gulf. Here, if you go to Google,
America.
and you search the Gulf of America, it's pretty crazy. They're already doing that. So interesting. I guess you can pretty much purchase anything on Google.
Love
search.
it. Love
Yeah.
it.
Apple Maps, I think, did it as well. I saw something about that as well today.
That's crazy.
Just a precursor to us taking over South America. No big deal.
And what about the Daytona 500? You guys got any favorites? Anybody going down there? When is that coming up?
I have no interest in NASCAR. That's not my.
Do I look like a NASCAR guy to you?
You do.
Yeah.
Actually, you
I
kinda
look
do
like a Roger.
NASCAR.
You call me Roger Federer all day long. I'm a tennis. I'm a baseball. I'm a basketball. I'm a football and golf. You think I pay attention to NASCAR?
Okay. Well, fair enough.
I will say this though. I have been to a couple of events, like just for fun, just to see how it is. They are a blast. Like going to those NASCAR events, they are a lot of fun. And especially, Chris, have you been to the Indy 500?
Yeah, we went. Ricardo and I went last year.
Aren't they a lot of fun?
Yeah, dude,
We
they're
saw zero of the race. All we did was watch the rave. We went to the rave in the middle.
awesome. It was awesome. And we saw. I mean, I saw some cars. They're just like
We saw
they
like
go-
the last 5 minutes of the race,
they
and
move
everybody's
so
like freaking out. It was
fast.
amazing. We're like, what
Yeah.
the hell happened? They just
the
Elon
only
did
good
a
seat is
job.
helicopter. You know what I'm saying? Like for the, because this is like it was really
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. Not
Yeah,
bad.
but
like,
we
as
got
far
we
as-
got when we finally did go to the race, there were some people that had already left because of the weather. So we were right in front of like right before turn 1.
Okay.
So we got to see the end of the race basically. It's kind of cool, but
Yeah, it was really good seats. It was cool, man. It was a good experience. The concert was really cool. Tons of people, hundreds and thousands of people.
Oh
Good
my God.
food. Yeah,
The
tons of
humanity.
food. Yep.
Well, Indy 500 or the Indy race is pretty much basically the premier race in the NASCAR world.
Well, it's
Yeah.
IndyCar is
IndyCar, yeah.
is different than NASCAR, and so like Daytona 500 is like the Indy 500 of NASCAR.
right.
Okay, see that goes to prove my point. I have no idea.
Yeah,
what the hell
I
I'm
didn't-
talking
I didn't know
about in
either.
that
I
Dude,
world.
it's
I
a
had
two
no
different types of stock cars that are being raced. Like an
Yeah.
Indy car has like specifications. It's like a small F1 car almost, and then a NASCAR is kind of like a looks like a Camaro.
The sedan.
Yes, whatever. But like it's weight specifications or whatever.
But they do run a NASCAR race at the 500 track. It's the Brickyard 400. The Brickyard 400 is the NASCAR race at the track.
Which we should go check out. Also, I think would be fun. It sounds like they had good barbecue there. Anything with Brickyard.
What I was surprised about
Brickyard.
is how lax the rules are for like the infield.
For
So,
the
like,
infield.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, like coolers are allowed. You can bring
For the
coolers.
infield.
You know, like
Yeah,
you know how
absolutely.
every event you ever go to, like, you gotta have a clear backpack. It can't be very big. Like blah blah blah. Any 500 man, you can bring a cooler. I mean, we basically brought whatever we wanted to into the thing.
Dead-
I brought a
dead
backpack
bodies.
cooler. Well, yeah, it's like
America. America.
We brought a backpack cooler with water and snacks and some stuff, and yeah, we could have brought cases of beer and a handle of vodka, whatever we wanted. Nobody would have cared.
Yo, it's a lot of fun. I recommend if you haven't been, definitely go check it out. Indy 500 is a blast, man, for sure.
It is crazy. Yeah, we're gonna try to go. I'd send you guys a thing. It's like
Yeah.
$250 a ticket to go to the rave in the middle. So
Yeah, that's sick. I'm down. It's a good time. Hopefully it'll be sunny, no rain. It kind of rained on us, but I feel like the race still went pretty good, dude. I mean, they still got it off. Speaking
people are going
of,
whether or not they race or not. So
right. Speaking of hundreds and thousands of people, Wu-Tang, I heard in the news, is set to release a new album.
oh my god.
Yeah, dude, Wu-Tang album coming out. Another one. I forget what it's called, but I'm happy that the gang is getting back together and they're getting ready to do another album for the crew. So I'm excited about this. You guys hear anything about this?
I
I
thought
have
they were all
not.
dead. So
Yeah, I thought a couple of them were dead, passed away.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I'm hearing
I
about it.
couldn't.
but-
I couldn't name a single Wu-Tang song. So
Okay,
done.
so that I mean, that's
Okay,
just-
then let's go to the
check.
next topic. When he said that,
next
I can't.
topic.
I can't. I just can't.
Next topic.
Can you name
okay.
a member? Can you name a member of Wu-Tang?
Speaking of the Wu-Tang Clan,
Old Dirty Bastard.
yes, all of them. The RZA, the Jizza, Inspector Deck, Raekwon, the Chef, You God, Ghostface Killer, Method Man.
Oh, that's right,
Wait.
Method Man. I knew
So
about
let me
that
ask you a
one.
question.
Most
let me,
of your
Ricardo,
family.
let me ask you. So where is Wu-Tang originated from?
They're from Staten Island.
Yep, exactly. Which is technically like Jersey, but we'll leave it at that.
I mean, it doesn't make you any blacker than me, bro. I'm sorry. Just
No,
because
no,
you
no.
live
Most
in
people,
New York.
most people don't know that they're from Staten Island. That's it.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
would have
like a
said
lot of people.
Compton. So
Yeah, most people say New York, like they think it's like Brooklyn or Bronx because they were like a mid
42nd and
'90s.
Broadway, you know.
Yeah, they were mid '90s rap group. So a lot of people didn't know that they're from Staten Island.
I had no idea, but
I
that doesn't
expected
mean
that from
anything.
you.
That doesn't
I
mean
expected
anything.
that from you.
I'm down with the Wu-Tang Clan. Like my sister too. She was like private school, like ballerina, and she would study. Listen, she had like all the individual CDs, all alphabetized, like Wu-Tang Clan and like geometry and shit.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
So I like it. I like it. So this next topic is brought to you by our friends at Mike's House. It's called "If You're Ain't First, You're Last," and it's about the United States. The United States apparently spends the most on its education programs. And if you take a look at this screenshot that I got from the website, U.S. News and World Report, that my friend Mike so kindly provided in our document that we have for the show. You can see right behind the Netherlands, shout out Netherlands, right? Who only spends 1/27th of what we spend. Shout out Netherlands. I mean, Van Gogh, sorry about the ear dog, but I mean, really, besides that, there's really no fuckery been going on there. And the United States is number 12 in well-developed.
well, they had that whole farmer thing going on.
Like
Well,
a revolt because of they
No,
trying to take up the
well,
farmland.
Well, no. So their political system is based on the popular vote. So like if you had multiple political parties, you can all run, and whoever wins the popular vote becomes the whatever they call it over there, not the president, but and so this startup political party of farmers in the Netherlands ran, and then they won the popular vote. So they're the head of their party is now the prime minister of Netherlands or whatever. And it like kind of shocked everybody that this sort of startup political party that nobody ever heard of before, that was basically middle class workers, ended
They
up
call
winning
that democracy, dude.
No, it was awesome. It was great. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was just
That's really interesting, man. I didn't know that. I can't believe they practice that. That's kind of with large populations, it gets a little muddy.
I'm sure I've butchered it, but basically that's the gist.
I think you butchered it. I think you
But-
butchered it.
so
But
here's
we're
the
gonna let it
US.
go. We're gonna let it go.
US. and I don't. Is this on Wall Street? I feel like this is on.
It
Wall
was just,
Street.
it was. I think that it was just an image. Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of background. Obviously, everybody is talking about the Department of Education recently. That's been in the news. Our highlight in today's episode was Ricky Bobby. There's a huge a very famous quote: "If you ain't first, you're last." And Ricky Bobby in the movie, basically, he lived his life like that.
Come at you like
But-
a spider monkey chip.
Yeah. So as it relates to education in the United States, we spend the most and when it comes to our public education systems. Now, the parameter, for how we're rated depends in all different areas. However, when it comes to science, math, and certain other like areas, we're actually lower, and that's based on testing scores. And there's this methodology, or this thought process, I should say, that the more money you spend on something, like the more money you throw at it, we're going to get better results. And that's just not the case. And as you can see, we're falling lower and lower in world rankings as it relates to math, sciences, and everything else. So as long as you follow Ricky Bobby, we're going to continue to be, we definitely are last.
Well, they talked about some part of this on that podcast with Rogan. What was her name again?
Bridget?
Yeah. She was basically saying that there's some kids that her kids, have friends at school that can't spell,
Yeah.
like because they grew up using a computer for all of their writing. So spell check does everything for them. They use their phone and everything, and then they get in the corporate world, and all of a sudden they don't know how to spell words unless they're using their computer. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
And so, like,
Well,
Oh, sorry.
But
I think there's this. I forget. I wish I knew the name of the book, but there was this book that I read, and it was basically based on like how there's like this inherent chink in the system, the education system, that kind of like breeds sort of like a attrition, right? And so the point of it is that like at some point along, like schools were getting funding based on their ability to pass kids, right? For kids to pass
Right. Yeah,
tests,
yeah.
and then the tests became influenced so that they became easier to pass. So there'd be more money in the education system in general, and so and then the grading system started to slide because the teachers were getting evaluated on their ability to pass kids as well, and so like the whole scale just kind of slid over. I think is what this book was trying to say. It did a really good job. I wish I could remember it, but like it seems like that's where we've gotten. So like you're graduating kids from high school, right? But like they can't read and write proficiently, and that's kind of, is that what I'm hearing?
It's
Well,
a lot
yeah.
of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know in New York State they took away standardized testing because they, quote unquote, they didn't want to hurt kids' feelings if they didn't pass certain tests. I know in certain jurisdictions they took away failing grades. I know in the public school system, I remember talking to a couple of teachers, you can't fail kids. Basically, they can't read, but you still have to continue to push them forward, even if they had massive deficiencies. Now, a system like that doesn't work. Like, I'm sorry, you have to hurt, and it sounds like bad, but if a kid can't read and a kid can't do math, you can't continue to just push them through the system, because I hate to say this, but the reality of the situation, you're just hurting them more to prepare them for life. If they can't do basic math, that's horrible.
Well, they eliminated special needs in the what is it, late '90s, early 2000s. They basically
That would
said
have that would have
basically-
fucked Ricardo in school.
well, they eliminated special needs because it was like considered discriminatory or whatever. And so now teachers have to teach everybody, assuming that everybody's could potentially have the same ability to read and write. And so then what tends to happen is you end up spending more time on the lowest common denominator. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And less time on the kids that, actually, whatever, are competent, I guess, whatever word you want to use. And so, and the incentive structure is broken, right? I mean, the teachers are incentivized to pass kids. And if they don't, then they don't get tenure. And then they, it's because it's unionized, right? So it's a broken system, honestly.
Absolutely, 100%.
So, I mean, where do you think a lot of the spending is going? You think it's just basically like going into a broken system, or do you
Well,
think
Common
that,
Core-
like, I mean, like, I'm asking, like with USA, do you think there's a lot of the stuff that's just being spent on just programs that are just going nowhere?
Well, Bill Gates' company was paid how many? I mean, I don't even know how much money to develop Common Core, the whole math system. That's the whole Bill Gates thing. And they realized a few years later, like, oh man, this is really bad. But like it had already been implemented for several years. Hard to back out. There's a new reading and writing system. I can't remember what it's called as well. Too the same principles, which is
Called-
broken.
Well,
English.
well, let's take a step back. I think one of the bigger problems here is, and some people are not going to like this that watch the podcast, but it's the unions. So
100%.
unions in major cities have incredible power, and that typically drives up the cost of students. You get your federal funding, and what the bigger problem is you have all these metrics or these requirements in place which are hurting the students. Like, what the fuck is the reason for a tenure? Just because you're a teacher for 20 years, you could literally break the law. You can't get fired because you've been teaching for so long. I think the unions, the power in the teaching union is creating a lot of this havoc, which is costing the system a lot more money. That's like the unions with a lot of things. Now, I think unions are great in a lot of ways, but I think nowadays unions also are sort of a little bit of a detriment to certain industries and hurting actually the development.
Yeah, the like not all unions are bad.
Yeah,
But-
I don't want to make it sound
Yeah.
like that, because
Yeah,
there's
I
great
agree.
things about unions.
I don't like unions really in most instances, but there are good unions that are beneficial, and the creation of unions was the right thing to do at the
Absolutely.
time. But now the problem is, I mean, just like everything else we've talked about with businesses in general, that the incentive structures are broken, and so essentially, it's how can you continue to repeat success over and over and over again, and so that's how people sort of get corrupt, is they find ways to like keep increasing the value over and over again, and have to kind of let go of some of your moral foundations in order to do that, right? So
I'm a public school kid. I went through public school, and I could tell
we can
you.
tell. We can tell.
Fuck you. I'm the highest education here out of both of you. So shut up. No, I can just tell you from my experiences at public schools, the shortfalls.
See.
I went my last 2 years of high school to a Catholic school based on my athletics, and the structures were completely different. And the Catholic school structure was a lot better for me. It worked better for me, but I think the educational element to it, teaching to the student itself instead of just teaching a curriculum over and over, was a lot more beneficial personally. And Catholic schools don't have unions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a private school. I went to a boarding school, so I was a career C plus student, but I absorbed way more information than I would ever admit to any of my teachers. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I did a mix of both. So I mean, I definitely found that the public school system, there was a huge gap between the information that's being transferred from like the teachers onto the students, much less so in the private school system. And I don't know whether it's just like more focused, or just different teaching techniques for sure. But there's bright kids either way, as long as you're like getting something in your head. Yeah. So as long as they're not like, they're like teaching you like how to like, make yayo and like slang around the neighborhood, then I think it's a good day for your kid. Right. Mm-hmm.
I feel like the pace is different. I mean, at least it was when obviously, I graduated high school a long time ago, but when I graduated from a public school because I got expelled from private school. And I was so far ahead in the curriculum that I was bored out of my mind. Like every class I was required to take to like graduate, we had learned that stuff like years prior, and so I spent a lot of time just reading books in class, like because I was like no point in listening. I've already read this book that you guys are reading. I've already studied this subject or whatever. The only class I had to pay attention in is Oregon's law says you have to take 1 year of health to graduate high school. And I had 0 health classes because I went to a Christian school. So I had to take 2 health classes my senior year.
The Lord is my PE teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Good times.
Fun times, yeah.
Yeah,
I was just
crazy.
glad I got out of PE because I took sports. So
yeah, let's see. I mean, all great stories, man. I mean, I think we don't know why we're spending so much money. Where's the money going? But hopefully, with some of these cuts, we'll see kind of where
we wouldn't care if the work that the money that's going somewhere.
Right. It's like
I mean,
would
I don't say
the
number
message is
one,
like,
but at least top 5, right? If we're spending like that much more money than everybody else, and we're still like,
so it's got to be going like, I think we can handle it. We should get whipped into shape, but it's going somewhere, and a lot of people are getting rich, and they're not educating our kids. I'll tell you that. So speaking of that, Tulsi and Kennedy get confirmed this week. So Tulsi Gabbard. Or Gabbard or Tulsi Gabbard, however you say her name.
What the fuck?
Tulsi Gabbard. She is now confirmed, as well as Bobby Kennedy Jr. So congratulations on those guys. Health and Human Services Secretary and Secretary of Intelligence, if I'm correct, right, guys?
National intelligence, yeah.
National intelligence.
You were pretty close. You were pretty close.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah, it's
she just
talks so like it's okay.
Yeah, if she goes to Europe, then she has no intelligence. But here in the States, national intelligence, she's the secretary of. Awesome. So I mean, I think these are really good confirmations. I don't know. What do you guys think about these candidates?
I like Tulsi. I mean, the thing that I like the most is they're both liberals. They're both former Democrats or maybe current Democrats, or whatever. But they're and they're being picked by the conservative president to serve on the cabinet, which, I mean, I've always thought, well, not always thought, in my, more recent time when I've, become a little bit more mature in my life, that, you can't have the left without the right and vice versa. So like, if you spend too much time in an echo chamber, we've talked about this a little bit before, too much time in an echo chamber, getting the same information regurgitated back to you, then you're never going to, like, make change or come up with ideas that might be beneficial for like more than just your constituency. So,
Well, let me ask you both this question, though. See, both of them are outsiders. So they're being put into positions where they're basically the heads of those departments. Like, so how do you guys feel about that, though? Because technically, really, they're outsiders. They have no, like, Bobby Kennedy, different story. Like, they're going to be running agencies now, or departments, I should say.
yeah, I mean, I feel like both of those people have experience in leadership roles. I mean, Tulsi's a National Guard officer, and obviously Kennedy is a lawyer who has, you know, spent time leading teams. I mean, I feel like that the sheer scope of the work that they have to deal with might be the only like concern I would say I would have, and it doesn't mean they're not capable of doing it. They're both highly intelligent people who will probably surround themselves with, more intelligent, competent individuals. But that would be the only thing I would be concerned with, is just the magnitude of the work that was required, and if whether or not they can handle it. I mean, I'm sure eventually they'll be able to, just off the jump, right? So
What about you,
definitely throw
Dakota?
in the deep end.
Yeah, man, I like both of them. I mean, like, I know Tulsi ran, and also Kennedy ran. These are all ex-presidential candidates. I did hear the Joe Rogan show with Tulsi, which I thought was really informative. She talked a lot about when she was, I don't know if she was a congresswoman, and she worked for the Democratic National Party, and she tried to go and like fly over to the Middle East and get to the bottom of some of these issues and funding and like all this stuff that was being argued about in DC, because she was like, this is stupid. I'm gonna just fucking go over there and check it out. And then they like shut her out of all these committees and groups because she did that. And almost like she wasn't playing by the rules. And then, she basically got kind of, screwed over by the Democratic National Committee. So she came over, and these guys, kind of treated her really badly. So I think that I kind of like that about her, because, she had been over there, so she has a lot of experience. And so she's somebody who, if makes, accusations or, all that kind of stuff, that she's going to have firsthand knowledge of a lot of the things. And so, even for a bipartisan, hope, that's a great asset to have, is knowledge of both sides. And then Kennedy, I same thing. I've heard a lot of his talks. I've seen a lot of his cases. I like that he kind of goes after some of this stuff. I'm not 100% sure where he's going to start, but I do believe that, going after seed oils, going after some of like this processed foods, sugars, and like just kind of like taking a more informative approach on like preventative care, and like not just putting a burden on pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies. In any direction that we take in that fashion is going to help the country. So let's see what he gets done, though. I think there's a lot of people involved in that, so breaking a lot of those changes is going to be not as easy as just overnight. But let's see how maybe they're just going to chainsaw everything.
Yeah, I actually like both of these picks. I actually like the fact that they were confirmed and sworn in. I think we've had, for a period of too much time in the past, that we've been going down the same road, and you need to change things up. I think that's why I like Trump just in general, because he's an outsider, he's a businessman, and he wants to put people into positions that he feels are comfortable enough, that are not beholden to the old system. They have a new thought process, they look at things differently, and they really genuinely want to make change. And Bobby Kennedy's been very outspoken on what he wants, what he's been trying to do. He's done it through the legal system as a lawyer. He's done multiple talks about what the issues are. He's given conferences. He's talked about the problem with our food system. He talks about the problems with pharmaceutical companies. He's had multiple conversations. I love it. Tulsi has the experience. I think the one thing that just concerns me with Tulsi is like what Chris said. it's a lot of moving parts at once, and you're going to be given so much information that you're going to have to process it at a high level, understand which one's more important, and then you're going to have to execute. Do I think Tulsi has the capabilities to do that? Absolutely. She was an ex-congresswoman. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, I have just more concern with her and the only reason why is because you're fed so much information and you got to make those decisions. And I think that area is yet to be seen. So it doesn't mean she can't do it. It doesn't mean she can do it. It's just to be seen. I think Bobby Kennedy, as a lawyer with the history, with the family structure, with his involvement with everything, he's been able to juggle a lot of things at once. So I think he will be a better, in my opinion, he's going to be prepared to get off on the ground right away, hit the ground running.
Fuck yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see. So only time will tell on these guys, but I think they're both pretty good picks, man.
Yeah, between the two of them, I like RFK a little bit better. Only, and this is not because I don't like Tulsi, but RFK definitely doesn't sound like a politician when he talks. Obviously, the throat thing, but Tulsi, whenever I see her outside of Rogan, but like most of the time when I see her talk, she's clearly a politician. Their answers are very like cookie cutter, and I mean it does bug me a little bit, but I do like most of her opinions. I like where she's heading anyways. But.
Still, my favorite Tulsi was during the debate when she destroyed Kamala on her history. That was top 5.
Well,
moments.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's to be seen. For me personally, I think it's going to be exciting times. I think both of them will put teams around them that will help them.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, guys. I think so too. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about this explosion in your, in the DC area on criminal defense attorney search. Looks like.
No, I'm not going to tell you. How about that? I'm not going to tell you.
We have a picture here of DC, just in case.
Yeah. So basically, with the whole Doge situation and all this information. Yeah, with all this information coming out, there's been a bunch of pollsters like Mark Mitchell who've been basically following kind of Google searches just in general. And some of the information that's coming back from this, and he's posting it on his X account, formerly known as Twitter, was the terminology that people are looking for or they're searching for. So I'll give you a couple examples. So there's been a spike in criminal defense lawyers. There's been a spike in terminology, RICO statutes, penalties for criminal conspiracy against right. What is the definition of treason? There's also been spikes in RICO law, meaning
what
RICO charge, RICO
treason?
statute. What is RICO law? RICO case law. The big thing, and I want to open this to you guys, is why do you think so many people in the DC area are really looking these things up? Do you think there's going to be a lot of people that are extremely nervous about what's going on and if they're going to be exposed to things? Like, I got to laugh at this because some of this information that's coming out is hilarious. Like, you could clearly tell there's a lot of people that are very, very concerned because they might feel like they're in the crosshairs now because the jig is up, basically. So what do you guys think? Do you think people are nervous? Do you think that people are scared and that's why they're like looking into all these terms and like kind of preparing for what's next?
I mean, you're asking a digital marketer here, so like absolutely. I mean, like one of the easiest ways to see at least intent, not behavior, but it's almost a direct correlation, is just to look at search history and spikes in volume. Based on this, and like anybody who's got access to Google Analytics or anything like this can type in all these words and they can see the actual historical spikes. So you can like see all of a sudden. I mean, you can geo-target it as well, but just overall in general too, you can see that there's spikes in these types of things, and I'm sure people have written programs that monitor these types of words, and when there are a specific chain of spikes in like 5 or 6 different terms or searches, it could be like, oh, okay, this could easily be correlated to some sort of behavior. So I mean, there's a lot of going on there. So I'm sure if people are looking this shit up, it's definitely because they're interested in it. How's that? Allegedly, I don't want to make any other accusations, but I mean, if you're, how many times have you heard of these like court cases where the guy's like, hey man, I didn't kill my wife. And then the lawyer like rolls up, right? And the lawyer comes up. He's like, hey, man, I got your search history right here. And he's like, so what? I didn't kill my wife. And then it's like, I got your search history. And yesterday you Googled how to kill your wife. Then you Googled, where do I get the shit to kill my wife at? And then you Googled how to get away with killing my wife, right? You know, so like that guy's going to jail, you know? So what, you know, all that stuff is somewhat admissible these days. So, you know, be careful.
What about you, Chris?
Well, RICO is that thing where, you know, if you can convict one conspirator with a felony, that you can convict them all, right? Something along those
Yeah,
lines.
it falls under the same umbrella. They all are connected.
And I mean, it sounds to me like a lot of people feel like they're somehow tenuously connected enough to some crime that they're concerned, you know, whether or not they fall into that bucket, you know. So the treason thing, that one's kind of funny because like that one's pretty obvious. So like, if you're not sure what treason is, what kind of shit are you pulling, man? Like, I mean,
What is the difference between a single homicide and a double homicide?
yeah, right? It's like,
Well, the funny thing is, there's another pollster, I believe his name is Sir Dempster, who since 2004, kind of in the District of Columbia, like followed Google searches and saw the analytics. As of yesterday, the amount of Google searches as it related to the topics we were talking about exceeded Google searches during COVID. Okay, so I mean, it is literally out of control.
the bar
Like,
is
so I
set
think-
pretty high there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Seems like,
there's a
you
lot of
know,
people.
Our government was hijacked by some criminals, or people just got really used to getting away with shit. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing.
I think it's a combination of two things. I think there are definitely individuals that are concerned about actions that they were involved in, actions that they took. But I also think it's another element too. They're researching criminal defense attorneys to see if they actually did something wrong as well. See if they can be, you know, lumped into it. It doesn't necessarily mean.
How many sacrificial goats is a felony?
So, so we talked a little bit about this before on a previous episode, I think during the election, but I honestly think a lot of these people literally don't have access to alternative perspectives. And if they do, they just completely ignore it. A prime example, obviously, was the Bud Light thing. I honestly think that the people at Bud Light, when they did the advertisement, thought it would be, you know, better received. I honestly believe they felt that more people thought the way that they did, and the only way that they found that out was the backlash. And I think they were all legitimately surprised. And it's funny. I've been reading this book called For the Presidents, and Adam, our second president, right? John Adam, our second president. His vice president was Jefferson. So two different parties, right? So obviously back then.
Adams,
It's
right?
Adams, and I can't take you serious with that damn wig on.
Sorry. So John Adams, the second president after Washington, right? So first of all, big shoes to fill, but his vice president, he didn't get to pick, right? Because back then you didn't get to pick your VP. It was just the second person that got electoral votes. Jefferson was an ass, dude. He was like basically throwing advertisements in all of the conservative newspapers all over the country to talk shit about John Adams and his policies. And he's a short little bitch, basically, like, because he's a short guy, he's a short king, right? He's a short little bitch, he's a drunk, you know, he's talking all this shit about him, right? And so the Alien Sedition Acts, and I completely forgot about this from school, but the Alien Sedition Acts, the sedition portion of the act it gave power to arrest people that were talking shit about the president and Congress. So 29 people were arrested. All of them were editors of newspapers for talking shit about the president and Congress.
Wow.
And
Yeah. Is that what we call freedom of press?
there was a whole bunch of things about how it was freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and that ended up expiring, you know. But one person, actually, Benjamin Franklin's, I think, cousin or some nephew, died in custody But anyways, it just all of this shit is the same. Like it's we're back in the same circle, right? I mean, it's just like all these people. I think honestly, I think when John Adams, I think he felt like that was his like best path. I thought that was. I thought he thought that he was doing the right thing by ensuring that his presidency would go well because he thought that his ideas were the best ideas and blah 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 and like when you get this little bit of power and like you have these ideas and you have all you do all day long is hear the same opinions over and over and over again and they all align with your opinions, then you make decisions thinking that you're doing the right thing, and without alternative perspectives it's not good for everybody.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree, man. Speaking of, having alternative perspectives, Mike wants to talk a little bit about how OnlyFans and American women.
I'm back
are
on
being
OnlyFans, guys.
affected. I got a visual for you too. Boom, 2% of young women are selling themselves on OnlyFans. Way more men are buying. Shocker.
Okay.
I'm sure that number's gone up because this says November
Hold on.
2023.
Exactly. So that number was from 2023. New statistics show that 10% of women aged 18 to 24 are on OnlyFans.
Okay.
10%. Okay. There's 82 million men subscribed to OnlyFans, and 90% of those men are married. So, those are statistics. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up.
Oh, that's
we obviously-
messed up, dude. That's messed up, dude. That's like,
So-
wow.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring this back because last week we talked about dating and we talked about kind of experiences. Now, well, let's start with you, Chris. You're in Indianapolis, right? Indianapolis, excuse me. When you go out and you meet somebody, do like any of the girls that have you met any of them on OnlyFans? Have they ever talked about it? Do you know anybody in Indianapolis that has had an OnlyFans?
Well, most recent relationship, she never did it. I mean, she's got friends that have done it and that still do it, but it wasn't something that she was interested in doing.
Is it like frowned upon? Is it frowned upon in the community? Or is it
not
like
in her group of friends. They're all like, "Oh no, we just gotta make money. Who cares?"
I mean,
how?
no more than masturbating on an airplane.
yeah.
No, they're fine with it. They're all, yeah, no, it's fine. Just make money however you can make money. And I think a lot of it has to do with the economy, right? I mean, a lot of these single women, they got to support themselves somehow, and they feel like that's the best way to do it and live a certain lifestyle.
Well, when you met her friends that had OnlyFans, were they very like outspoken? Did they say like, "Oh, I'm on OnlyFans, I'm making money," or is
I
it? Or
I don't remember any. The only mention of it was from her about her
Gotcha.
friends. None of them. She doesn't have any really hot friends though, so I don't know.
There's a
going,
sub page called Lonely Fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, how about you in San Diego? Do you know anybody that's been on OnlyFans? Are they like more outspoken about it? Is it something that people like take pride in, or have you like talked to girls like that you've gone on dates with? And
No. I mean, nobody at least not that I know of. At least not in the music scene. I think that, but that's basically because I think if you're trying to be taken seriously for music, taking your clothes off is not the easiest way to get there. But I mean, San Diego is known for these type of gig economies here because the weather's so good, and if you can live off some sort of passive income, it's like a great place to take pictures of yourself, with and without clothes on. So I'm sure that there is thousands of girls, if not here, who are doing that. Because it's so expensive.
Yeah, I could tell you from New York, there's definitely been several women that I've met out that are actually, they take it for like pride. They say like, for example, like that they are like kind of happy that they have certain amount of subscribers on OnlyFans, like it's actually like an Instagram page. So I think like the dynamic's a little bit different. Like you have women in New York who have like more of a reputational thing. They would never do that. They kind of look at themselves in a different perspective. Then you have the completely opposite side where they're like, oh, I take pride in this 100%. I have, let's say, 50,000 subscribers paying for my OnlyFans. I take nude pictures. I do all this. It's like a pride thing. So there's definitely been like a correlation, not a correlation. There's definitely been like kind of an in between where you kind of have both aspects of it. And I was just curious to hear from you guys if that's like something where like in your geographical locations, like if people are more like outspoken about like their OnlyFans page or anything of that magnitude.
I definitely knew a girl in San Diego who was a real estate realtor that had OnlyFans. But you know, I mean, the real estate, that's a
And the second part of this
That
though
almost
is
helps real estate.
Yeah. The second part of this is when you look at the amount of men that's on these pages and the amount of them that are married, like for me looking at that, I think there's a fundamental problem in their relationship if they have to pay to kind of look at other women. That's just my personal preference. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think, 90% of the men that are married that have these OnlyFans pages, I don't know, it's kind of, for me personally, I'm a guy, like obviously I'm going to look at every girl that walks by. That's just the nature of us. It doesn't mean we're going to act upon it, but I don't know. It's just a little, it's different for me. I don't, first of all, I never pay for anything like that.
Right.
So it's, Ricardo pays for hookers all the time. That's a different story.
It's way more fun in real life. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I obviously I've watched porn. Okay.
I think every guy has.
I've never had
No
OnlyFans. Never had any real interest.
Only feet.
I can imagine though that there's probably some, like what there's some taboo or whatever, some desire based on potentially seeing people that you might know in real life, right? Because like I feel like in porn, these people they're in LA, like you're never gonna meet these
It's not
people
attainable.
in real life. Yeah. But in OnlyFans, maybe these are people that you might meet in real life or people that you might, whatever. And so I feel like that's probably an aspect of it. Also, dude, we're freaking monkeys, man. I mean, like, if you're not getting it, or even if you are getting it, there's still a desire to want something else. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
we're
good
meant.
point.
I mean, we're built that way. It's physically impossible to. There are men that you can put in a box and like
Monkey
confine
sex.
them
Did you just say
But-
into a butt or did you say a box?
into a box.
Monkey sex.
But they actually, I mean, the studies are out there, right? If you become in a monogamous
butt
relationship
studies?
if you
I'm going to
become in
kill
a
you, Ricardo.
monogamous-
Shut the fuck up.
in a monogamous relationship and you have children and it lowers your testosterone,
Yeah.
right? And so that is just one variable of how like relationships become sexless. There's like a million other variables, but it still doesn't mean you don't have desires, right? And so and the other thing too is fat lowers your testosterone. And so
Fuck
like
that.
well, yeah. So, but that doesn't mean that your sex drive necessarily goes away. It still means that you have desires. You're just less likely to go out and do risk and risk things to get what you want. And so now, at the click of a button, I can see a chick that I might meet in in real life or whatever. And it's like playing the lottery. Like if you never played the lottery, you never have an opportunity to win, right?
Those skinny dudes always be getting laid.
So let me
It's
ask
true.
you, if
Yeah.
if you met a girl, you had a good relationship, you're clicking, you're hitting it off, you've gone on several dates, and then all of a sudden she says, "Hey, I have an OnlyFans," would you continue to date that woman?
Good question.
It depends. What is her OnlyFans like? I'd have to see her thing. Like, what is it? I mean, are you like inviting dudes over to bang?
Okay, let me
she
step
had
in here.
videos and photos and everything.
Just nudity, no intercourse, nothing. It's just her butt naked, like
Is
dancing
she
around
showing her
bedroom.
face? Is she showing her
Yeah.
face?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It'd be tough.
I can't
be
do
tough.
it. I can't do
Yeah.
it. How about you, Ricardo?
I don't know. I mean, it takes a little bit away from the specialness, right? You're like, oh
Yeah.
man, that's like special, and like you sacrifice to get that shit, and then somebody's just like, I got $1.99. So
I feel
it's
like I'd be terrified. I'd be terrified that one of my friends would like
no,
recognize.
I mean, I don't
something. I'd be
know.
like,
I mean,
"Oh
it
my
just
God."
depends.
It's like,
It depends. I mean, like, I wouldn't like not date a girl that had an OnlyFans at some point, but I don't think I would. I don't know. It depends. I mean, it really depends on the person, but probably not. I would lean towards no.
It's,
yeah,
yeah, so it's definitely a challenge because there's elements of a moral and a foundational like butting of heads there, because you're sitting there and you're like, okay, if I feel something for somebody and you're starting to get your emotions involved in that person, you're starting to have a connection, it's kind of hard because it takes you so long to have those connections. But at the same time, if she's taking pictures of her entire body and selling it for
Yeah,
everybody,
I'll probably be
it's like
a
it loses
deal
that.
breaker. Deal breaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I feel like there's so many like conflicting psychologies involved that like what what motivates someone to do that, right? Money is obviously on the list of things, but like most attractive women don't have money problems, right? So
Could be
like,
attention.
But a lot of them have self-esteem problems.
I was
well,
just going to
that's
say,
the,
or
but that's the
confidence
thing,
issues.
right? But so then the question though is like, what causes your self-esteem issues, right? It's not healthy mom and dad relationships. You know what I mean? Like these are people that have other problems, not just the fact that they're on OnlyFans. And so then now you're like, well, how do I unpack why they have an OnlyFans? And then now you're just going on a rabbit hole. That means I got to do a bunch of work, and then it's
And I
sounds
just
like
want
a
to
lot.
And I just want to point out I've had 2 OnlyFans topics in 4 months. I don't know how many more are going to be out there, but if there's more
lot of
information
them.
that comes out, I am heavily against OnlyFans.
Technically,
so-
we've had 3 with the OnlyFans, Only Farmers.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one. Oh God, forgot about that one.
Only farms.
Only Farms.
Yeah, that place is bomb. I'm
Dude,
all for
that
that.
AI
first
chick
group.
that it generated was hot.
Yeah, she was-
I
yeah.
quit. Next
So,
topic.
So I was going to talk a little bit about how history repeats itself. We got a nice little image here of John. Who the fuck? John
Yeah, I
Adams?
kind of already covered this though. It segued
Alright.
nicely in the previous thing, but basically the same thing. There's the Alien Sedition Acts,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just interesting
Okay.
because the conservative. It doesn't matter. The
Yeah, I wanna
Federalists,
talk about the Alien Sedition Act.
the Federalists,
Let's
the
go
Federalists, and the
right-
Democratic Republican parties were the 2 parties at the time. And at the time, the Democratic Republican parties
Let's go.
were the ones that owned the media. So
I'm sorry, Chris. I don't mean to cut you off, but Ricardo is on a whole nother one. He literally cut you off. He said,
I know.
"Okay, you already talked about this next one."
so the
Leadership. No, I'm just kidding.
media.
I only see the leadership. I don't. Oh, there we go. We're back.
So what I thought was interesting is that the media thing has come back, right? So like at that period of time, one political party owned the media and the other one tried to like censor the media, and it was just, I feel like we've seen this movie before. We're back in the same place, and I just thought it was interesting from Ricardo's Media Killers perspective. Like, is that it's crazy, right? I mean, it feels like in our second president censored the media because he didn't like getting his feelings hurt. And I feel like we're literally in the same place, right?
Yeah, but it's not the president silencing the media though. It's the president basically just fighting back against the media because the media has their narratives, and our president right now is like, no, that's not actually correct. Like, you're gonna try to rip me down, my policies every which way. I have the ability to talk back against you. We already know your opinion. We already know how you
I
feel.
meant more
but
Biden than Trump, but yeah.
Oh yeah, Biden. Well, what are you talking about? He was sleeping the whole time. He was never fighting anybody.
It's not the president specifically, but the
I know.
administration. The administration. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think honestly, from my perspective, this has been sort of a natural life cycle, the same way that like a product has a life cycle. So like there were these technologies and they were communication based, right? And so just that basically means ideas can be transferred, right, along with information and data and whatever. And so these ideas, made it so that the whole world could communicate, right? And that evolved into a number of different solutions and a couple of different platforms, some of which were like considered sort of these town hall type places like Facebook, and where everybody could share. And so you democratized attention. Like anybody could get attention. You didn't have to be somebody important to be remembered. and you could document your life, which is another great one, right? And so everyone's on these democratization platforms, and they're on there for a while, man. It was a good like 6-7 years, and nobody fucked around. Companies weren't involved, big companies were involved, corporations were involved, and then all of a sudden, we had like all these companies go, a little bit more out of private into public sector. Facebook going public and doing all these things. And so now you have a lot of more people getting involved in the companies and the commercialization of it. But ultimately, the first group that was, a power hungry is going to go ahead and they're going to abuse it and control it. And I think that's really what we saw, right? So if we take a look at the timeline of all this stuff, the Democrats and, Obama and everybody was the first group that really took control of social media and digital marketing and kind of used it to pass ideas along to people and get it in front of people, a much wider audience. And so that, was great, but then it got out of control, right? It created a lot of technogarchs, whatever you want to call these guys, and a lot of donors and everything, because the free speech and all this stuff and the protections and everything kept them making money in the market. And so it created sort of a machine. And like what we're doing now is like we're just rebuilding the machine, or we're like refining it down. And it's the first time that these technologies have ever faced any kind of scrutiny as far as like, what should and shouldn't be done with them. And so for me, it's a very natural evolution. And I think we're going to get something that's important. I don't think it's going to go away, but just, I don't think it's anything that like one side is doing anything that the other isn't. I think we're just like a big living working project that needs to be constantly refined to fit the needs of whatever audience is using it.
Well, we talked about this before, Ricardo, with freedom of speech and a lot of those laws that happened in the 70s and 80s that made corporations fall under freedom of speech, and like Sullivan versus the Times, I think, is one of them. That and so like the press is not registered as press; they're registered as entertainment. We've talked about this before, and they don't have to tell you the truth. So like, you got all these, political people that are like trying to, get information out there, and then you have news organizations that don't have to tell the truth because they're not press. It's freedom of speech. They can basically say whatever they want as long as it's not libel or slander, right?
Yeah. So the press a lot of the time plays around in the gray area, right? So.
Yeah.
That's kind of their like leeway, and typically a lot of the time when they're playing around in the gray area, it's celebrities. It's certain areas where they can get away with that. Look, it's all different perspectives, right? The way you look at things and you analyze situations. History always repeats itself. That's just the nature of the game. If you look back at the Roman times all the way through, it's just the nature of the game. We're just in that repeat cycle again, and it's going to happen 50, 100 years from now again.
Agreed. You're on mute, I think.
Yes, I am. Totally.
Oh.
It's going to repeat itself. But yeah, I mean, like it's always, so hopefully we'll get, some other things passed through, except for the things we saw the past 4 years, and maybe some efficiency. And then the other topic here we have, besides leadership, which I think is a good segue, is the Doge topic. So speaking of that, like we got the new administration chopping up stuff with the Doge. And let's see, did I have a Doge? I did. I found this really cool thing, which is interesting if you guys want to check this out. And here's a snapshot from it. But if you go to usdebtclock.org, there's a live running webpage that has like, this is just like one little section of it. But it has a national debt and running time, and then now it has a Doge clock. So it says like how it's, combating the debt, where it's being spent, all this different stuff. Revenue per citizen, how much we owe, like revenue, debt per taxpayer, debt per citizen. So the difference of the burden of the taxpayer versus the person who's just living here in real time. And you check this out. This is really cool. So it's cool that they added this Doge clock here on this bad boy. But yeah, it's kind of insane. We're kind of in a financial, a little bit of a hole here, buddy.
Yeah. Did you see Elon's little speech in the Oval Office about the Social Security? I thought that was crazy. And I've seen, and I guess I can't say it's too surprising because, like I work at a international company, and we have the $1 billion worth of revenue for one of the subsidiaries, and they still do everything off Excel spreadsheets. So like they don't even have like an ERP system or CRM or whatever. They like keep track of everything, which is just blows my mind. But when Elon was explaining how the Social Security system is still all filed manually on paper, and that it wasn't deduplicated, so like there's multiple Social Security numbers out there, and people that are 150 years old, which obviously they don't exist, and it just, I mean, obviously, a lot of it. I'm not saying it's intentional, but it just needs more regulation on, and I hate that because I don't like
Not
regulation. But
it needs a better framework to
It's
identify
better management. Yeah, it needs
Yeah.
a better management system. It needs to be modernized, right, for the information age, because we're dealing with a population that survives on information. If everybody had to do paper shit, we wouldn't have this many people out there. So you got to like respond to that, explosion, and the only way to do it, and and it just it doesn't shock me at all.
But how do you not? But the question is, how do you not know that it's not intentional, right? So this is what I mean by that. The system has been there.
What do you call it? Self-perpetuating.
So the system's been there for how long? The rank and file system has been there for how long? You're
300
telling me
years.
over. No. My whole point is, you're telling me with all the money that we give to these departments, there's no way to make it an easier, more accessible system. Put a better framework in. Come on, like there's a reason why they have not updated the systems to keep track of certain things. There's a reason why they don't do this. You're already throwing a bunch of money at these things, because what ends up happening when you start having better frameworks and parameters in place, you expose more
corruption,
people.
yeah.
So okay, so the next thing you look at is, have they ever put an NGO or a contract out there to have the system updated? Where did that money go? That's
Right,
easy way
yeah.
you can see where the money's going, where corruption has been. So we all know there's rampant fraud in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Everybody's been saying that for years. Okay, now he's getting to the heart of it, where he's looking at these systems. I think you're going to find a lot of money. You're going to find a lot of situations where people are taking advantage of the system. I'm not saying it's everybody, but I'm definitely going to say you're going to find a lot of circumstances where that is happening. So I just, that whole little incident where he was talking about like a person that's 150, 155 years old.
150 years old, yeah.
Like, how is it possible that he's able to find that?
But they vote left.
Yeah, but that's my whole point. How is it possible that he's able to find that in such a short period of time, whereas that system's been around forever? Like, I think there is, like, I was reading, I think it was a tweet or something like that, where it was like,
A tweet? You mean like a tweet
governmental
tweets?
employees' HR files
Oh,
are
the
still
tweets-
held in
tweet
an
source.
Iron Mountain. Yeah,
Oh
an
yeah,
Iron
the
Mountain
limestone
cave.
cave.
Limestone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what, like, it's just like my head is, I can't wrap this around. Like, supposedly because it's like basically file and rank, like we were talking about before, they can only process 10,000 resignations a day. Like, that's absurd. That's absurd. So, I don't know. There's definitely, I like the fact that they're going through these things and they're exposing it and they're putting it out to the public and telling everybody, hey, this is what's happening. I love it. I think it's great because we want to know this shit. We want to know what's happening. Like, do I agree with everything he's doing? No. I there's some things that I have my like backup on, but I love the fact that he's going through systems and he's pointing the inefficiencies out. And yeah, if the things I don't like that he's doing, it exposes more, I actually am going to sit there and say, expose it more. Like, everybody keeps on talking about like the conflict of interest. This is a benefit for him. This is a benefit. He's going to use this to make SpaceX get more contracts. The dude's worth $350 billion. And realistically, over the next 10 years, they're anticipating he's going to be a trillionaire. You really fucking think he's doing this for more money? Like, come on.
Well, transparency is a two-way street, and I mean, I feel like if, and I seriously doubt this is going to happen, but it could, right? Everybody's susceptible to corruption or whatever, but if they come out and they say, hey, we're going to cut Medicare or Medicaid from 67-year-old, ladies in a nursing home, then we're all going to be like, what the shit? But so far, everything that they pointed out is like, yeah, that's obvious. Like, why the fuck are we spending money on that? So, I mean, for me, until they start proving themselves to be shady, up to this point, I have not seen a single thing that they've cut that I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, why are we cutting that? Everything is like, oh, Chelsea Clinton's wedding. You're like, yeah, no fucking shit. We shouldn't be paying for that crap, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that he's exposing, which I love. But there's also another element to this. You have to be factual, because I was looking at the political thing where they were talking about 8 million or 23 million. So what has come out is that political
Yeah,
8
it's like
million.
8 years or 10 years.
It's
or
8
something.
years or 10
Yeah.
years worth. So everybody was talking about like it was what we were paying them last year. That's not the case. So, it's,
Yeah, but the question is like, where did the disconnect come from? Because I haven't looked specifically at the Doge website to see what they said and then how that was interpreted. Because like obviously what we're getting is third, fourth hand information.
Yeah.
Passed
the
through,
bubbles
so-
are coming up. The bubbles are
I
coming
know
up.
every
on
time
your
I do a
page.
thumb,
Yeah.
it just does a
Yeah.
does a bubble thing. But yeah, I guess I can't use my hands when I talk. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Ring it, Bobby.
Yep.
Bring it, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the shit that I've seen has been completely fucking ridiculous, and I think people have put up with it for a while because the standard of living has been pretty good. But the past, going on 6 years now, 4, 5, 6, going in 6 years of just complete dog shit, 4 or 5 years, and so I think we're gonna look for some cuts, man, and it'll be fine. I think everything will be much more efficient, and I think the government will need, will get a makeover that it really needs. And a lot of people will benefit, and a lot of people are going to lose jobs. I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of what happens. But it's necessary, but long overdue. I mean, we're, 20 years into the new century or whatever. So, fuck.
I love the fact that they're cutting jobs. Like, I really think it's great. I have to say this. I see all these newspaper articles or these Instagram postings where people are social media postings where it's like, this administration is taking jobs away from people. They need these jobs. The government is huge right now. The employment aspect of how many people are employed by the government is massive. The funny thing is, nobody raised a red finger or a red flag when the IRS wanted to hire 85,000 new auditors. Okay?
A bunch of people complained about it, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they wanted to do. So all of a sudden, Trump's like, nope, you're done. We're not doing that.
To audit the middle class, yeah.
Audit the middle class. That's my whole point. So it's like, it's just tiresome because there's so many double standards here, and we really needed a reconciliation on everything. So many people have been talking about this for years. Nobody is getting mad. Bill Clinton did the same thing. What was it called? The what was it? Vogue
It was
or
something different. It wasn't Doge. It was like, yeah.
where
was
he put a
definitely
committee
not Doge.
together. Yeah, he put a committee together basically to cut this fat on the
same
government.
thing.
So during that time, it was perfectly okay. I think it was led by Al Gore, so it was perfectly fine. But he realized at the time that there was an issue. Now Trump and everybody's talking about it, and there's an issue that.
The problem with the left doing it, and I'm not talking shit about the left, but the problem with the left doing it is that are we changing the topic here? The problem with the left doing it is their structure is based on helping the little guy, right? That's what they're known for, is for trying to prop up the smaller percentages of the people that need help, right? And when you try to do that, you basically eliminate your ability to displace people because they're in the wrong place, right? So like cutting jobs, right? You can't cut jobs because now you have a minority of people that need help from the government that you've done that to them. You can't. Your constituency doesn't like that because the left, they want to help the little people, and the majority will take care of themselves, right? At the cost of the majority. And you have to have that opinion because the Conservative Party will essentially, tramp on the little people if not kept in check, right? If not kept in check, the little people will get hurt, and it's just how it's always been, right? I mean, look at the 1920s Industrial Revolution, right? When like there was no protection for employees, people were getting their arms cut off and let go.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
it was just, and that's what happens. Business when business is run without any, people that are trying to argue against like the people that need
Regulation.
help, regulation, then they run rampant, just like we've seen on the opposite end.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like this is needed to come from the Conservative Party. It needed to happen when the Conservative Party had the momentum to make it happen, because you can't do this like massive change in spending without hurting somebody. There's gonna be broken eggs. Like you have to crack some eggs, right? And I don't think the Liberals would ever get the support that they needed from their constituency to displace some individuals for
Yeah.
the greater good, right?
All right, what was the next topic? Was it leadership?
It's a
I'm just
continuation.
fucking with you. I'm just fucking with
Yeah, Ricardo has put it up 4 times.
you. Leadership, guys.
It's
Leadership.
a continuation of last week's conversation.
But I finally got the graphic up. Yeah.
Is that me?
It's just AI.
Why does that?
It's just AI.
Why did? I'm not gonna comment on what that graphic
Looks
looks
like it looks like
but I'm very concerned.
missing a swastika.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about that graphic.
Blame it on
Let's
the
not put that
AI.
graphic. Yeah, let's
blame
take
it
that
on-
graphic off and let's put the little thing up on the bottom.
Yeah, looked
little
like Hitler.
concerned.
Hitler Youth. Definitely Hitler
Yeah,
Youth.
that was horrific.
All good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last time we talked, we kind of went down a little rabbit hole, and employee engagement is where we ended in the rabbit hole. And so I was curious, from your guys' time in corporate America, what examples have you seen of, your leaders and your corporations, sort of trying to increase employee engagement?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I mean, I can give you an example to start if you
I
want.
could I could tell you. So employee engagement. So for my company, we have 2 Wednesdays out of a month. We have free lunch where everybody gets into the conference room where,
that
where we don't.
lawyer money.
Yeah, so we don't really talk about work. We just like kind of joke around.
Yeah.
We like have our typical lunch where we just BS. But throughout the year, we have all different events. So like for example, in our office, we had like a putting event. We had a Super Bowl event where we kind of talked about like the teams. We had some food ordered before the game. Yeah, we typically do some of like those engagements. We like around like the holiday seasons, we have like trivia, and we have the ugly sweater kind of Christmas like contest. So it all depends. It's different. Like when I worked at a private firm, one thing my boss always did is she took everybody on the team out for lunch. Like it was once a week typically. We would talk. We would just BS. Most of the senior partners would talk with the younger associates just to see how they were doing. It wasn't really with work based, but to see how they were doing individually. That was before we had a turnover to our other partner who. The one that I told the story last week about with COVID. Yeah, so
The douchebag.
it'll
The douchebag.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah, that guy. Yeah, so it's all different though. Also one of the things that my current boss does, engagement wise, employee engagement wise, is she basically has like an open door, and it's kind of one of those things where she's like, come in, talk to me anytime you need. And that's like kind of important on my behalf, because employee engagement's not just like, having the lunches or doing events. It's kind of having an open door. Like if you need to talk about anything, if it's like a child care situation, if it's a question you have on a case or just in general, which I genuinely like and I enjoy. She's very, very good at having that access to her.
Got it.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah, I think.
yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely experienced sort of the same stuff with like, the boilerplate, like lunches and getting everybody together for birthdays. We used to have like a bunch of grills. And so like anytime there was a holiday, we would just get a bunch of meat and we would just start grilling all day for like the entire company, which I thought was kind of cool because everybody could sit down and kind of like, break bread over food. And then, like I liked a lot of the, the stuff that we had to do that was like cross departmental. I thought that helped engagement a lot. So like whenever we had departments like interacting with each other and like having to meet mutual deadlines, I think was, fostered a lot of like professional engagement, as far as like that in that sense. And then our company was really good about like offering stock. So there was always equity, involved in a lot of the things that we did, big contracts and stuff. So, that a lot of people worked on. So I thought all that stuff.
Get them financially invested.
Yeah, a little bit, or just on the reward too side. They're like, hey man, we got a big contract. We worked on it for like 5 years. Here's, you've been here for all those years. Here's some of the stock. Like kind of like that.
I feel like the stocks are really, really a good incentive tool, because then you're
Unless the
basically,
vesting
like,
period is
you're,
5
say
years.
You're financially invested, so like your success is directly correlated. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely vesting periods for sure, but I mean, the point of most of those companies, and I would say that like in general, and there's always speculation because the companies that are mostly discussed in the media are the most speculative, right? Because they're going to offer the most potential for change. But there are thousands of companies out there that have really good fundamentals that are going to be around for a really long time. So like, a 3-year to 5-year vesting period doesn't really matter for a company that's been around 15 years. Who cares, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So like, I'm on the engagement team, right, at work. So I put all those little things together, or we do ugly sweater parties and all that stuff. But
Emphasis on gay.
I read something the other day that like really hit me. Because like getting people to those engagement events is not necessarily just like putting it on. Obviously, if you put it on during working hours, more people are likely to attend. But I thought it was fascinating. They said basically that the dissonance between your corporate culture and what your actions are is a real problem with engagement. So like an example would be, if one of your core pillars of the company for the culture is like safety, as an example. So like Boeing, the perfect example is the whole Boeing 747 Max thing, right? Where they cut a bunch of corners and that's why the plane crashed. But their corporate culture has always been safety first, right? It's always been that way. And so when you have a pillar of your corporate culture that says one thing, but your actions say another, then you lose engagement. You can have all the cookie parties you want. You can have all the pizza and all the steaks and all the fun times, but if your actions and your words are different, then there's a dissonance and people feel it, and people don't necessarily always know how to articulate it. And I've been in that situation where I felt uncomfortable and I wasn't sure why I felt uncomfortable. And I feel like that's one of those things that makes everyone feel uncomfortable, and it prevents you from engaging or trying to engage. I don't know if you guys experience the same thing, but
Absolutely.
I can tell you my corporate culture,
Yeah,
my
go ahead.
company is phenomenal. Like, I mean, the way that they kind of compensation, they do all of that, but I mean the tools that they give to you, like if it's mental health, if it's mentorship, not just from your office, but from actual corporate. So the one thing about it is they're known for their corporate culture. And when I first started working there, I knew it, but I didn't really feel it. And then all of a sudden, when I started working there, it's like, okay, we have this for you. We have that for you. We have this department that can help you out here. We have our HR team. There were so many things that were available now, which, really stood out. And I can tell you it helps an employee in a lot of ways. Now, it's a different story. They give you a shit ton of work. I'm not going to deny that, but they give you a lot of other like avenues. Like they give you a lot of other benefits, and they provide a lot to you in a multitude in a different tons of different areas. Yeah.
what do you think about the pay? Not you personally about the pay, but like, because I feel like a lot of times, the culture says like, oh, we want to take care of our people, but then it doesn't really reflect in the raises.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
just
like,
I'm asking.
I gotta say, so like ultimately, like I think what when you're trying to do is like mesh culture with an objective, right? And the objective is a mechanism, and the mechanism is a system that has inputs. Ultimately, whether people believe it or not, and some of those inputs need to be human. And so, like, that is a system of profitability which functions to serve quite a number of different, solutions, including some of which provides income for the people that work there. Okay, now the fact that you're participating, in as part of some of the inputs of this profitability, you get a specific monetary reward, not only based on market conditions, your contribution, but also on the profitability of the business. Okay. And so the business is doing really, really, really well. Obviously, like it should be taking care of its people, of course. Now, culture is something that I think is in and of itself separate from that initial contract that you have with that system, and that is that is the system that is created by the people who work and participate in the organization, including the ones that are done socially or the ones that are sponsored by the company. And so that is created by the humans, and that's completely separate, and it's not required for profitability in any sense, but it is a byproduct of the fact that there are human interactions. And so when you say, well, let's look at this culture, what it really does is it takes a measure of the quality of the status quo of the individual in that organization. Because there's groups of quality individuals, right? Then you have quality corporate cultures because those people are social, they're engaging, they foster curiosity and creativity, and they foster an environment of open communication. And so those in itself are some of the necessities, or the ceilings, if you might will, for a good corporate culture, obviously. And so that's one way to look at it, but completely, totally different things. And when you try to mix them, that's where it all gets kind of fuzzy and the logic goes out the window, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's still so essentially the question is stems from sort of today's corporate world where what is it? If you don't move within 3 years, you fall behind your peers because the raises don't match what you would get if you like left the company and started somewhere else. And that seems to be like a pretty common trend. I think obviously, why did people stay around for 20 years in a company beforehand was because there was pensions, and we don't have pensions anymore. So the risk for your retirement is on the employee and not on the company now. And so people are chasing a number that coincides with their, skill set or the amount of work that they do, because they're responsible for their retirement. And then on top of that, the system is incentivizing it by paying people more who change jobs more frequently than paying people more who stay in the same place. So it's hard to balance that. I'm not saying I know the answer, but it feels like loyalty is not necessarily financially rewarded anymore. It used to be financially rewarded with pensions, but now it's not financially rewarded anymore. And so people are moving every 3 years because they get paid more.
Well, sure. Okay. So, like, I mean, in order to explain that, we have to talk about a lot of different types of things. And, like, ultimately what we have to talk about is the sources of inputs of these mechanisms that I described, right? And so the sources of inputs are information. They're the output of work done by human beings. And then they're the output of, call it sessions or communication sessions between human beings, right? Creative as they may be, or problem solving or analytical. Okay. And so, like, the nature that we used to receive information, right, including with education, was from single sourced large information, sort of, call them, they were the reference books, right, of society, where somebody who did something for a very long time through experience. And now that we've sort of democratized information, that it's all these bits and pieces and everybody can get it at every different levels, right? It also just didn't happen without also democratizing the way that companies themselves get their inputs. And so finding someone that's good at coding isn't as necessary now as it was 25 years ago, right? Or even 30, because you can actually just go online and get somebody to code even a piece of code for you, right? And so, like, the way that information has been democratized and the way that inputs have been democratized allows the company to in itself make you a little bit more indispensable. But it allows you to, instead of being focused on just one thing, be able to do a multitude of things. So you're learning to discipline yourself on different levels, not just being like a shoemaker.
Yeah, I agree with you in certain areas, but there's been studies in the legal field salaries for associates have been going down, bonuses have been going down, managers and partners salaries has exponentially blown up in the same time. So managers, partners, they're taking more of a piece of it. So you're kind of, as an attorney, forced to look in like, why the fuck would I stay here if you're going to pay me not even a cost of living increase? I can go to another law firm, make 20, 30, $40,000 more. What incentive do I have to stay here? So that's a contributing factor. Now, there are still companies that do have pensions. I think, though, the problem is a lot of these corporations, especially Fortune 500 companies, they have so many employees. You're never going to make everybody happy, but it's a cost of living increase. Like, this last year, inflation was through the roof, and you have to kind of help people keep up with that rate.
If you want them to stay.
Yeah, if you want them to stay. So it's also a math thing. People don't realize this when you're looking at when you're having your compensation reviews and what you're actually getting, the percentage compared to what the cost of living increases are. So if you're really actually getting cost of living increase, or you're actually, below, you're not really getting a raise per se. The problem for me is I feel like corporations in general, the managers, your bosses are taking a bigger chunk. Your shareholder value when it comes to your executives are taking massive chunk. There is a reason why a lot of people are pissed off at CEOs of these publicly traded companies. If you're not a founder and you're a place CEO, or you're on the executive team and you're making 20, 30, $40 million a year, like, it's pretty absurd in certain perspectives. Like, executive teams that are making $200 million, but you're giving bonuses to your employees of $1,000. It's kind of a slap in the face. So when you see that, a lot of employees get pissed off, and they're like, well, like, what's the advantage of me staying here? Why don't I go somewhere else where I actually can make more money? So I don't know. I'm tossed up. I work at a company that is, I think, salary wise, benefits, because it's not just, like, for me and my company, it's not just the money aspect, it's also the lifestyle, it's also the benefits that come along with it, and personally for me, it's also the people I work with. So I look at all those factors and I put it together.
Cultures, I mean, all those people that change to get a bigger salary don't necessarily go to a better environment. Right? They just get it.
I have two friends.
Greener.
I have two friends that took the money. They went to a firm, and they hate it there. Right. They took a lot of money. They can't stand their boss. They were sold. What's the saying? They were sold a gold bar, and they got there, and it was a pile of shit. And it all depends on what you're looking for. If it's a life-work balance or work-life balance? Is it you're just looking from a financial element? It all depends on everybody.
Right. Yeah. You got something, Rico?
No. Absolutely. No, I agree.
I was gonna say what I feel like there's gatekeeping, and it's
that's definitely true.
Is a dissonance between feel like what maybe the corporate. Let's just say the CEO, for argument's sake, what the CEO's vision of what he thinks is happening at the ground level, and then there's some gate in the middle between them that they're incentivized to gatekeep, but that information isn't really tracked all the way up back to the CEO. So because what I've seen is that I feel like there's a very real lack of information when it comes to the cost of turnover. And nobody really wants to put the time in to do the business case, right? So how much does it cost to replace a person? Because the
data it's unfavorable on two levels, right? So on one side, it's unfavorable because I think you're right on this. I believe that there's sort of this pre-deceived notion that, okay, who cares? Like, we're just creating more jobs, we're just getting more people employed, right? So there's sort of this falsehood understanding that, hey man, we're just putting another position on the market, man, that's great for us, right? And then I believe that has a lot to do with it, so that nobody really wants to do the work. Plus The other thing is that I feel that employers feel like if that data was ready and available, the employees themselves would actually have more leverage than they currently do,
Right.
so they suppress that data.
Yeah, I mean, because like what I've seen in my company specifically, but all over the place, even in the military, it's just like, when you have a void for whatever reason, whatever the person left, right? And there's a lot of information that individual takes with them that just isn't shared in the company. No matter what you do, there's always tribal knowledge. And so then, because the corporate machine, it takes 6 months to hire a replacement. And so, and then of course they go, oh, well, we want to hire somebody younger who's cheaper, right? Which is always the trend. So you hire somebody younger and cheaper. It takes them 6 months to get on board, but then that person has no experience because they're younger and cheaper. And so then realistically, how long does it take them to get fully up to speed? Most of the time they'll say it's 6 months to a year. And so now you basically have a year and a half void for this position. And that how much impact does that articulate through the system, especially if you do it, at scale. So if you have a company with 1,000 employees and 10% of them change over, and now you have 10% of your company has a year and a half void in productivity, like that is a drastic impact that you can't make up in a short period of time. When all you could do is just pay your current employees a little bit more money to stay, right?
Yeah, but that goes back to the point. At the end of the day, it's about X's and O's with the
yeah.
company, the bottom line. And they look at it, okay, we could get somebody cheaper to do this job. And then they push it off on that person's manager or coworkers to take
Right.
on the extra work. So I know from just dealings with a multitude of firms and companies, there's shortfalls all over. And then when they do get candidates qualified, they think, oh, we're not going to pay him his salary, like the salary he wants. Like, we don't believe that this is a position that warrants that salary. So then they put themselves in a hole as well.
I think from my experience, like the really good commanding salaries have come because of the specific dynamic. And so there's like a bunch of workers, and however skilled or like a larger contributor you are, maybe $300,000-$400,000 a year, whatever you're making. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you kind of build over time. And then there's these situations that happen a lot, and I've seen them in many businesses, right? Where there are like, it's sort of like in the military where there's like a very specific problem or a sector or something that somebody's trying to develop that they're trying to get into, right? Or learn about or like make a foothold in. And they bring people in specifically for that. And those people maybe they're around for like 5 years, maybe they're not, maybe they're around for 3, depends. And those people command larger amounts, triple, quadruple the salary that you're making. And it's not because that they're like a higher contributor individually as you. It's because they're coming in to do a lot of work in a shorter period of time and make a very specific impact. So if you're looking in the corporate world to do that, to make a big salary, that's what you really need to do. And I'm not saying become a consultant, but look for opportunities that are very specific to something that you know how to do, where you can leverage your time and your money and say, hey, look, okay, this guy needs to tie his shoes. Great. I'm going to show you how all shoelaces work. We're going to have a whole shoe tying division at your shit. You're going to give me fucking 2.7 million and it's going to take 3 years. Boom. Right. And then there's like with the market share they gain, and the investment they make, it always makes sense. And those are the types of guys who I think really command the larger salaries.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much longer we're going to keep talking about this, but I feel like that
We're
is
beating a dead horse.
Well, the problem with that is that experience is trumping education nowadays because of what Ricardo has just said. In a lot of ways, it's like I've seen this in my company where, who cares if they have a college degree? Do they have the specific skill set for my specific problems that I need to solve? And how, do I have to teach them how to do it or not? And if the answer is like, no, I don't have to teach them, then yeah, I want to hire that person regardless of their educational background because they have a skill set I'm looking for. And I feel like that's sort of a change from, in the past, at least. I mean, it still happened on some level, but I feel like it's drastically changed. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had like a crazy 2013 sort of vision, right? Well, like with social media, which basically consisted, and the voting system thing that we discussed was part of these like visions, right? And like just extrapolating into the future for fun, for imagination's sake. And one of the things that, like, when it first started, doing some stuff, like people started working from home, that I saw was a system that democratized employment, right? And so you basically have this huge system sponsored by the government, backbone, blockchain, whatever, and everybody gets on it, right? And so, like, what's the trade-off? Like, you're giving off your opportunities, and you get digital ID or whatever, but the your passport, all that stuff is all stored on there. But the other thing is like, you can log into this system like anywhere, your computer or whatever, and take a number of different tests at any different time, right? And these tests will qualify you for skills, and those skills will put you onto like an AI sort of like a bidding board where people need specific tasks done. And if you have like available for 4 hours or 6 hours on Tuesday or Wednesday, and during that time they use your specific task to do whatever it is they need, and they give you in return money. And all you got to do is like, okay, and then your spare time you just get better. And for those who want to achieve, can qualify for much higher and more intricate problem
I feel
solving
like that's what LinkedIn's trying to do.
But it gets too social. It wouldn't involve anything social. You wouldn't know anybody else that it was on it. It wouldn't be competitive. You wouldn't be like bidding for stuff. It would be like an automated allocation system, for capital, but like human capital, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just feel like that's like, I see that more and more, like, oh, congratulations, so and so got certified in Excel 2.0 or whatever. I see that all the time on LinkedIn. It seems like that's kind of the
Right, but it'd be great if it was like, there's real time bidding on ads, there's real time bidding on stock prices. There could be, with an AI system, real time bidding on inputs, like we were discussing, right? Like work inputs, like if you want to talk about, someone's like, look, I have this stack of inputs, and one of the stack is, a 25-minute rant about the military and a boring story. You can go in there and like log in and tell a boring story about the military, and then you can get like $50, right? Or like vice versa for any of us.
Once upon a time I met Ricardo.
Exactly, yeah. And Mike could talk about his tennis championships, all those things, like voiceover.
I feel like I'm looking like a reverse Santa, like upside down Santa face or something.
You look
not
like
actual.
Take it off.
You know what you look like? You look like you're at a party with that guy Bad Santa. Like whatever happened.
Billy Bob
like,
Thornton.
You ended up. Mike looks like he's pissed off. Mike looks like a Democrat just walked
He
in.
wants to go out to the beach, man. It's nice outside. He's like, fuck this shit.
It's nighttime.
He's just waiting for us to stop talking so he can just go party. He's on vacation.
I'm going to sleep in about 5 minutes.
Come on, man. Ultra Music Festival.
Yeah, because I'm going to go to a music festival at my age. Yeah, dude, I need some drugs, bro, so I can hang out all night long. I can see Ricardo like that at a
It's
club.
not Ultra Drugs Festival. It's Ultra Music Festival.
I can see Ricardo at a festival
okay.
like, bro, you got to check out Media Killers.
What's the percentage of people at those festivals that aren't intoxicated or high or both?
1%.
The exact same percent that are having a great time. And not miserable.
Yeah.
Spreading love and meeting people and having sex. All right, guys.
What was that last piece that you cut off?
I said having pizza.
Having Scorpion percussion.
Shout out Scorpion Percussion. Shout out Mitch Dodge. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. That was fun. Another great episode next week. I think Chris is going to be here in San Diego, so we're going to be doing an episode maybe at the studio, and then have Mike flown in. No, just kidding. We'll just tune in the normal way. And what's the episode next week, man?
Oh shit! It's
National
Leadership
guys.
National Leadership Day.
National
It's the 20th
Leadership
of February.
Leader.
Yeah.
So dress as your favorite leader. Is that what we're gonna do? You can't wear that wig ever
I'm going to be
again.
Roger Federer, so be prepared for that one.
Awesome. I'm gonna be Mike Tyson, but it's gonna be a tough one to pull off.
I feel like whatever we want to do, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as long as it's not an OnlyFans person as your favorite leader, that's probably not a good idea.
Man. I don't even know who's on that shit. I don't like forget that stuff. And in the meantime, follow us on YouTube. Check out our reels on Instagram. Say what's up to everybody on X. We'll be yapping it out. And thanks for tuning in. See you next Thursday at 4 p.m. East or 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Almost Patriots. Peace.